This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
What up, football fans? It is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, October 16th, which means it is time for the Audible here at Sportsbook Review. My name is Jimmy the Bag, and I am joined, as always, with the legend, Mr. Donnie Rightside. Donnie, how you feeling out there?
Tuesday, another day. We could talk some football. My goodness, I hope the season doesn't end too quick, Jimmy. One of my favorite shows of the week to do, the Audible, Tuesdays and Fridays. Let's have some fun as usual. Let's crack that book open today, take a look at some of these games, and set us up for the week, brother.
Set us up for the week. Yes, we will. I had a great run on the 1 o'clock games and then had a very bad afternoon showing, but still wound up okay. Also, Pete and I have a Low Shack in the Bag parlay show. I finally hit a parlay, so I got off the schneid with a nice parlay victory. But I am ready to get to work. We have a great group of guys joining us. We have Bill Butlicker, Robert Weimer, David Hutton, Dizzy Rothstein, Greg Schneider, Rolls Royce, Garrett Horton, Tom Marino, Tom Moore, and my man Ziggy Balls. Without further ado, Donnie, my man, let's get to work and start with the Thursday nighter. Broncos at Cardinals. Opened up at a pick'em now. Broncos minus 2.5 across the board. Total opened up at 40. Now it's gone up to 41.5. Broncos played well against the Rams, losing 23-20. Keenum played more in control, going 25 for 41 for 322 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Emmanuel Sanders continued his great play, catching 7 passes for 115 yards. Demaryius Thomas continued to be a shadow of his former self. I've been saying that all year. 3 passes, caught 3 passes for 57 yards. They had no rushing attack against the Rams. Freeman, 9 for 22 yards. Lindsey, 4 for 18 yards. The team in total ran for just 60 yards. Starting left guard Ronald Leary suffered a torn Achilles against the Rams. Backup center Max Garcia will take his place. Starting right tackle Jared Veldheer has been dealing with a knee injury. He's been held out the last 2 weeks. With the Leary injury, they need him back desperately. Rosen had his best game as a pro. 21 for 31 for 240 yards. Again, 0 TDs, 1 pick. Christian Kirk and Ricky Seals-Jones were Rosen's go-to receivers. Not the man we're used to, Larry Fitzgerald. David Johnson continued his average play. 18 for 55 yards, 1 fumble. The Cardinals' offensive line has been bad. And now Justin Pugh has gone down with a broken hand, although he could play with the cast. That's the goods, Donnie. Broncos at Cardinals. Broncos a 2.5-point favorite. Can't wait to hear your breakdown on this game.
Yeah, Eagles got off the schneid last week as a slight favorite versus the New York Giants. Now you're getting a setup second week in a row where the road team's going to come in as a slight favorite versus the home team. And you also have some of the same dynamics here. Broncos haven't really shown too much. We pretty much know what the Arizona Cardinals are at this point, and it looks like the Giants overall are a bad football team. So you're going to get back-to-back weeks where the favorite is going to go on the road. Now, you know me. I'm always going to lean towards the home team because it's a tough type of environment to play in when you put your starters right back out there just a couple days later. But if you take a look at the Broncos as a whole, there's a lot going into this game. You already heard, the head football coaches on the hot seat even before that Rams game. They come out, they make it close late, but I think we can all, if you watch the football game, the Rams from the minute that game kicked off were the better football team right up to the end. That late touchdown to make it 3 and an onside kick just made it a little bit closer and a lot closer for some people who had the number in there, depending on if you got 6.5 or 7 and you had the Denver Broncos, you cheered that on. But when you look at these 4 games that have been losses all in a row for the Denver Broncos, Jimmy, there's something in common. Most of these teams are actually pretty good. You lose to the Baltimore Ravens. You lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. You lose to the Jets on the road. That was a tough spot. And then you come in and play maybe the best team in the NFL, the LA Rams. You're going to get a little bit of a breather on offense here, and it's going to be up to the defense to carry the week because if you're head coach Vance Joseph looking at this, if you lose this game, you probably lose your job. And that's going to help carry them this week to say, look, we're 2-4 at this point. We're at a crossroads. We're playing an inferior opponent. We should win the game. But watching that, Case Keenum was so bad. Forget about the final statistics of what showed up for Case Keenum. He missed some key throws in that game that really could have helped the Denver Broncos. I'm probably not going to be on this game because to me, again, it's a Thursday night game, the home team or no team. But I actually think the Broncos are in a decent spot to pull out the victory here because, A, their coach will be fired. If Arizona loses this, everybody expects Arizona to lose it. You're hearing Patrick Peterson's on the market. They're not going going to fire their head coach 6 or 7 games into his tenure and eat $25 million on a contract. I like the Denver Broncos in this situation here. I think they really need this football game.
They do really need this football game. Did you see progress with these Arizona Cardinals against the Vikings last week?
You know what's interesting? You say that too, because I like the fight in the football team. They're challenged talent-wise on offense. There's no question about it. You went into a tough spot on the road, and you played well within your means here, which always means a lot. That means the head football coach is getting through, and he's saying, you know what? We're going to have to be tough out there. We're not just going to give up and get rolled over just because we can't match teams points for points. And since you're already going to get a Thursday night football game, it's going to be a little bit sloppy. You're going to be at home in a dome. Maybe the crowd comes out and gives you a little bit of a bump. But I like your point there because I like the way Arizona played within their boundaries here. They're not trying to be something they're not and have their young quarterback throw 35, 40, 45 times a game. I think they'll try to play it close to the vest, which I think will play into what Denver wants to do anyway.
I have another question. Do you blame David Johnson's pedestrian numbers on the weak offensive line? Do you see them improving as we move forward, or is this the new David Johnson?
No, you know what? If he would have came off a knee injury last year, Jimmy, I'd say, you know what? Maybe this is the new David Johnson. But he had a wrist injury. His legs are fine. I credit this more to the offense. Maybe Bruce Arians knew exactly how to use this young dynamic back where they're trying to still figure it out. But he doesn't look as explosive because he's not operating in any space whatsoever at this time. I chalk this more up as the regime change, David Johnson, than as opposed to maybe he lost a step because he's not coming off any leg injuries.
Yeah, no, those are good points. Cole Marino says, Case Keenum getting exposed, not in Shermer's system anymore. Arizona sucks, but I'm not betting Denver as road favorites. Garrett Horton, Broncos need a win. Cardinals will continue to struggle with the rookie QB. Ziggy Balls, Eileen Broncos, Cardinals, new coach, short week, add travel. These are all very good points. Somewhere I think Johnson's weak numbers are the team is trailing every game. You can't run when you're down double digits every game. And
they're stacking the box on them, Jimmy, too, at the same time. And you don't have any weapons on the outside, and you have a young quarterback, so they want to run the football more. You just don't have a very creative offense, and that's always going to hurt the running back.
I agree completely. Ziggy Ball says line should be at -3 for Denver. Do you expect the line move to get to 3?
No, I don't expect it because I don't think Denver overall is a very good football team. So then if you lay 3, you're expecting them to win by 7 or more on the road. Do I think they can? Yes. But what has shown you right now that the Denver Broncos are, ready to go on the road and take care of business? They haven't played all that well. But then again, you take the step back and say they did play 4 pretty good football teams over the last couple of weeks. You should be able to heat up the pocket against a rookie quarterback and get after it. I don't think it gets to 3, but, I think Denver's the better situational spot here.
I agree. I'm not sure if I'm going to make the move, though, at this point. And we're joined by a bunch of wonderful, great cappers. I love seeing you guys all in the chat. Ron Fig says, this show rules. I love you guys, so let's keep rolling. That was the Thursday night game. N.O. Bede says, stay away game. Can't trust either team. It's not a fun way to enjoy your Thursday night, but that may be the move. We'll continue breaking it down throughout the week. Donnie will be doing it on Right Side of Campus, and I will be doing it on Low Shack in the Bag. Titans at Chargers. Let's hit the 1 o'clock Sunday games I'm excited about this week. Open Chargers -7, now -6.5 across the board. I have no read whatsoever on these Tennessee Titans, Donnie. They're hurting my wallet. They're making it much, much lighter. Total opened at 45. Now mostly 45s, a couple 45.5s. Chargers put it all together in their 38-14 win at Cleveland. I was all over the Chargers this week. They rushed for 246 yards. Melvin Gordon, 132. Austin Eckler, 60. Phillip Rivers finally didn't have to put up video game numbers when he doesn't have to. This team could be a juggernaut. Joey Bosa, good news, had his cast removed. Bad news, Kaiser White now week to week after having his knee scoped. White was playing 73% of the snaps and was playing very well in coverage. The Titans were awful in that 21-0 loss. Made me just so seething angry. The Delaney Walker injury must be just way more. I knew it was a devastating injury, but I love some of these guys. I thought Corey Davis was going to have a breakout year. He gets 1 catch for 24 yards. Nobody catches more than 2 passes. Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis rushed for a combined 30 yards on 12 carries. What the hell is going on in Tennessee? Mariota just 10 for 15 for 117 yards. What the hell is going on in Tennessee, Donnie?
Yeah, one of the more boring games you're ever going to watch. I mean, but again, we always preface it by saying if you had Baltimore, you might have thought it was the best game you ever watched because it was never in doubt and they dominated from start to finish. What are you going to get out of the Tennessee Titans? The one thing, Jimmy, we used to always say, you know what, let's hang our hat on. Tennessee's going to play a tough football game. Tennessee's going to play good defense. Tennessee's going to play you tight. Why not just take the home dog? And you saw what happened to the Eagles. They're going to fight back. Even though they lost to the Buffalo Bills, it was a 1-point game. They didn't even show up on offense. 11 sacks. Look, I know Baltimore's front seven is pretty good, but they should never have 11 sacks on any football team anywhere, especially when you have a high-priced offensive line like the Texans do, which throws this into a little bit of, conundrum this week because initially, if you take out last week, you say, wait a second, if you're going to show an advanced line of 6.5 or whatever as a neutral side in London, who would not want to take the Titans at that type of price? But that's not the case anymore. The one thing you're going to hang your hat on is I like what the Los Angeles Chargers are doing here, Jimmy. I'm getting all confused here. Flying out to Cleveland, not flying home, staying in Cleveland an extra couple days, then flying over to London. Very smart. Not like what the Los Angeles or Oakland Raiders have done at this point, heading into, hey, no big deal. We'll fly in a day or two ahead of time like we usually do, and it'll be no big deal. They get smashed in that game. I think there is a little bit of value in the Tennessee Titans, but it's something I don't want to step into because they were fractured last week. And the one thing that the Chargers are going to be able to put up points. That's a pretty good offense. But can the Tennessee Titans return the favor and put up points? I'm not so sure. You can just run Marcus Mariota left and right and have little dump-off plays and try to execute and beat teams like the Chargers. And let's get something real here with the Chargers. They never play a home game anyway. No matter if they're home, they're outnumbered in fans. If they're on the road, they're outnumbered in fans. This might be a little bit more equal environment because both teams are technically going the road here. It might even be a bump for the Chargers here.
I like that breakdown. Also, Jahanzeb Khan has a great point. The last 4 London games have been decided by 20-plus points.
True. He's right.
Wow. Thank you for mentioning that, Jahanzeb. I didn't realize it being that drastic. Clearly, Gruden is an absolute clown. He just looked like an absolute rookie coach this past week. I don't know what he was possibly thinking, getting the team there so late. And yes, I agree with you. I think the Chargers are in a good travel spot, if it's possible, by getting there so early. I'm afraid of having anything to do with the Titans game. I just keep messing them up week after week after week after week. But I do love the Chargers, and I've been on them since the beginning of the year, and it hurt me early. Garrett Horton says Titans have always been suspect. Chargers have been consistent enough offensively to take them this week. Titans offense is reeling. Robert Weimer, this is the time of year with the Chargers win, take them, and wake up early Sunday to watch. Steve from Detroit says, can't bet on a team that can't score like Titans. Eddie Sanchez, I'm making it official. Chargers win and cover. My man Scotty Rock forever joining us. He's been very hot in all sports lately. Capper John saying the Chargers went straight to London after the game in Cleveland, but very emotional week for Rivers. Interesting. I'm looking Titans plus 6.5. What do you think about this total, or do you veer away from totals in London?
Yeah, I haven't bet a London game in a long time just because I don't, the dynamic is just a little bit too off where some teams aren't used to it and the surface is usually slick for some reason, whether it rains or not, and you're just in a different environment. It's a neutral, you're getting pulled from each direction. You probably got to do like press and different promotions when you go over and play these London games. But if you're looking at the 45 and a half, look, the Chargers should be able to score, and both these teams should be able to technically play into the 20s and get that, but the way Tennessee has been operating this year, Jimmy, you're more likely to get a lower scoring game than high because I think they understand as well their bread is buttered more on a defensive side of the ball. And if you're going to have Marcus Mariota, is he a gunslinger out there? And who are you actually slinging it to on the outside? You're more likely to pound Henry up the middle and say, let's keep this game close and that whole MO. But I don't have a great feel in these London games, so I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction. It's like, man, boy, I love the over in this environment. There's just way too many outlying areas for me when you go to London.
Jahanzeb Khan probably has it right. He said books begged people to take Tennessee this Sunday, and look what happened. They're begging you again. Don't get trapped. Chargers all the way. Let's keep rolling. Patriots at Bears. This is a very exciting matchup. I don't know how a football fan can't get crazy pumped up for this matchup. Open Patriots minus 2.5. That went away very fast. Now a mix of minus 3s, some 3.5s. The total opened at 50, now 49.5s across the board. The good feelings the Bears were feeling after their big home win over the Buccaneers are over. after the loss to Brock Osweiler and the Fish. And speaking of the great cappers in our chat, a ton of them, especially Capper John, the Chicago guys were very concerned about taking the Bears with any points. And I remember your tweet. I was watching your Twitter, and you had the eyes, the googly eyes, when the Dolphins were now +6. Unbelievable stuff. Osweiler throws for 380 yards on this Bears team. I guess we're done comparing this defense to the 85 Bears. Amakamura hurt his hamstring in the game. He's questionable to go this week. Trubisky had another good game. 22 for 31, 316 yards, 3 TDs, 1 pick. Those are some of the best numbers he's produced on the road. Patriots are coming off that giant 43-40 win. Very exciting. Brady threw for 340 yards. Michelle ran for 106 yards. But their defense was awful. This is a tricky spot, and it feels like the market is asking us to back the Patriots. I can't wait to hear your breakdown on this game, Donnie.
I love it. I think it's one of the best games of the week that you're going to want to take a look at. And I love the way it played out this week because a lot of, look, we're going to talk about this all season long, Jimmy, spots that you bet in the NFL. It's not about how well the team played the last 2 weeks or, who they're going to play in the next 4 weeks. You have to look at the spot and what happened here. If you like the Chicago Bears, you have to absolutely love the fact that the Miami Dolphins won that game outright last week, because it'd be a completely different situation if Cody Parkey hits that field goal. You take a deep breath, and you know what they do in Chicago? Young head coach, young, quarterback, fan base that's just happy. Whew, thank God we won that game because New England's coming to town. Now, if we lose, it's not so bad. Now you go on the road, take the loss to the Dolphins, and every single mindset changes within the building saying, absolutely no way that we can lose now this week and lose back-to-back weeks after that start we had on the season. It starts right now. We saw the Packers won last night. The Vikings are going to keep winning. We have to hold pace here. And the same thing when you look at the New England Patriots. It's great that they won that football game because now you're not sitting in that absolute dire straight must-win situation going on the road. You saw the lines hovering around 3.5. Now you're getting mostly 3s out there across the board. And I agree with that. I think the Bears are in a tremendous spot because the one way that you beat the New England Patriots, other than getting them out of Foxborough, which they're almost impossible to beat there, is get them on a slower track like Chicago and heat up that pocket that the Bears can do with their front seven and get after Tom Brady. He's getting older back there. You see when the teams you go on the road and play Jacksonville, if you can get pressure on Tom Brady, it heats everything up on the outside. Gronkowski's still a little bit banged up. Julian Edelman coming back. The offense looks really good, but the Bears can do a lot of things to expose that front line for the New England Patriots. And just as betting a spot here right now early in the week, you're going to take a look to see some injuries and how they come in, whatnot. But the Bears are in a awesome spot this week to take and to get the outright victory against the New England Patriots.
Wow, I agree. I think I'm just so pumped up about this game. Let's see what the chat has to say. Bill Butlicker, Bears team total over. Colmore, Bears are overrated because of the Tampa game. Tampa defense can't stop a high school team. Pat's defense has struggled, but they should do enough against Trubisky to win. Colmore, Pat's offense should get stronger each week with Edelman back. And Neil Frank, Pats will win. Odar Leary, Patriots, great offense. I guess big test for Bears defense. Joey Kerr, Pats are vulnerable on the road. If the Bears killed you last week, don't go against them. Cage all over the Bears here. Another question, Donnie. 49.5 total on the board right now. Do you have any feel on whether you believe or back an over or an under on this game?
Yeah, you know what? When you're looking at early in the season, you say maybe you wouldn't want to back the over-under, but look, you're going to get Tom Brady in there. They're going to throw the ball 30 to 40 times. The ball's going to be in the air a lot. Trubisky in the Chicago offense isn't going to go into this football game and say, hey, you know how to beat the New England Patriots? Let's really slow it down, run the football, and see if we can beat them 16 to 14. That's not going to happen. Depending on the weather conditions here, you're probably going to look for a little bit more higher scoring game than you would lower scoring here. So if I'm looking early in the week, what do we have that number at? 49.5. It looks like, what Bears? 49.5. That's there for a reason because, number one, Tom Brady is going to be able to make plays. But those crucial downs where it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, where Khalil Mack can beat his man one-on-one and get after the quarterback, those are going to decide the football game. I actually would lean over in this one. I think you're going to see more points than not here.
Scotty Rock Forever says Pats roll here. Quinn Rivera says Patriots will kill us here. If we can't stop the Fish, we can't stop Gronkowski and Brady. Brings up a point. Can you give us any insight on how Osweiler was able to do whatever he pleased against this Bears defense that we thought was very strong?
Yeah, I mean, you had like 100-degree weather temperature down there, and we talked about it all week long. The Bears were feeling themselves, probably partying every night. Couldn't go anywhere without being patted on the back. Congratulations. Well, you're going to go out there and smash the Dolphins. Then you wake up in the morning, and Tannehill's not even starting. Osweiler's starting. It was a horrible, horrible spot for the Bears. Now they're in a complete role reversal and in a primo spot this weekend to get after. But it was no surprise to me last week. Even like during the week, +3 or whatever it was if Tannehill played. I loved the Dolphins all week long, and then you saw it on Sunday, and he just waited till it hit 7, and he just bet the game just to bet it because 7 is ridiculous. I mean, Tannehill's not Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers going out, so it was probably marginal, the difference between Tannehill and what Osweiler actually gave you. Spot betting is what the NFL is all about. And again, Bears, fantastic spot this weekend. It should be fun to watch.
I could talk about this game for the full hour. I know we need
It's
to
a
move
great
on.
one.
Bill
It is
Butler
awesome.
says
Yep, awesome.
Patriots are catching Bears D a week after they played 79 snaps in 100-degree Miami heat, overtime game, 20 more snaps than they averaged in first 4 games, and Khalil Mack dealing with an ankle injury. I mean, I know what Bill Butler is trying to say. Do you think that this Bears D could be tired?
I mean, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I mean, look, you're in a tough spot to go down there to play with Miami, but the one thing I'd be more worried about is the Patriots defense. I mean, the Patriots defense can't stop anything out there. Now you're going to throw a bunch of fast wide receivers, fast running backs at this super slow New England defense. That's the defense I would worry about, not the Bears this week.
Great point. Dom Ricci took the fish at 4, 5, and 7. Attaboy, Dom. Love this guy. Had so much fun hanging out with him at IFBC. How are we supposed to talk about the Browns and Buccaneers after the Bears and Patriots? I will do my best to make this game exciting. Open Bucks -3. Total open at 48.5, now 49.5. The Browns looked awful against the Chargers. Mayfield threw 2 picks, completed just 22 of 46 passes, but I still like his character. I like his leadership. They also still picked up 100-plus yards rushing, as they've been doing with that 3-headed monster back there. Their defense was terrible. They allowed 246 yards on the ground. They have problems at middle linebacker with Scobert and his backup James Burgess, both dealing with hamstring issues. Winston looked good against the Falcons' depleted secondary at times. 30 for 41 with 4 TDs. Still threw 2 picks. Still is not trustworthy at all. Barber ran 13 times for 82 yards. Their defense just couldn't get stops when they needed them. And now Gerald McCoy left the game with a calf injury. His status is unknown. The Hargraves and Conti injuries hurt their secondary tremendous. Bucks at home, -3 versus the Browns. Donnie, what are you thinking here?
You know what I'm actually liking? Look, the Tampa Bay Bucks are a bad football team. We get that. We'll see what the Browns come to the table with. But, Mayfield now with a little bit of banged up ankle. You saw some warts come off that team. They got worked at home by the Chargers. Chargers are a pretty good football team. But now you're going to go down to Tampa Bay, and Tampa's going to throw the kitchen sink at you. So if you're the Cleveland Browns, you can't sit back there and say, let's win 12-9 like we did versus the Ravens. You are going to have to shoot it out with Tampa Bay. What's the reason why we liked last week Atlanta so much going against Tampa Bay? Because in the first half, unlike the second half with Atlanta that got all banged up, you had Mohamed Sanu, you had Julio Jones out there, Calvin Ridley, Hooper, and you had Tevin Coleman at running back. You had weapons that could really expose that Tampa Bay defense. Now you're going to come in here and say, okay, let's see if we can shoot it out. Well, all right. I mean, Jarvis Landry, for all the money he got, is absolutely like a disappearing act outside of like 1 or 2 catches versus the New York Jets a couple weeks ago. Who is your big-time threat that you're going to be able to push the football down the field and really get after that Tampa Bay secondary? Styles make fights, and the Cleveland Browns aren't that lighted up down-the-field team that the Atlanta Falcons can be. No matter what happens, I think Cleveland's going to give an honest effort on defense. But with Jameis Winston back there getting a game under his belt, looked really good last week. I think what Tampa Bay does on defense should be just enough going against the Cleveland Browns. And I think Tampa Bay is going to score. You're going to get Cleveland out of their home environment. Going to be nice and muggy down there. I think Tampa Bay is a pretty good play in this one because, hey, look, still going to get the rookie quarterback going on the road. And you need to expose the secondary of Tampa Bay to make it work. I'm not so sure Cleveland can do that.
I'm not sure Cleveland can do that either. Anil Frank says this is the game Mayfield goes off. N.O. Bede says Bucks fired their defensive coordinator, take the Browns. And then everybody here leaning overs. What do you think about this total? Opened up at 48.5, now up to 49.5.
Yeah, it's hard to take unders with Tampa Bay because their defense is, porous as is, and their offense is going to score just about on anybody. I mean, they're dynamic at every single level. Now you have Jameis Winston back, look like he's throwing it around. 3 to 4 really good wide receivers. Peyton Barber actually showing up as a decent running back. They'll score in here, but I just don't know where the points are coming from Cleveland. Do you want to slow it down and run the football? Because Tampa Bay should be able to run the football and put up some resistance. They can't stop the pass, so it's basically going to be Mayfield and Landry the entire game. I'm not so sure they can shoot it out here with Tampa Bay. But look, Tampa Bay and an under just doesn't make sense in my mind. So it's going to be over and no play on the total for me, Jimmy.
I agree. Great breakdown. Zoe Face has love a sloppy over. My man Theodore McIntosh. Yeah, looks like an over. Man, Theodore McIntosh put me on a live one in CFL last week. I'm still very thankful coming off a 3-0 weekend in CFL. And Theodore McIntosh put money in my pocket. So shout out to my man Theodore McIntosh. Russ B, I live in Tampa. Fade Tampa. Robert Weimer, Tampa Bay defense came together for the second half last week. Plus, they fired their defensive coordinator this week. Like the defense to hold up against the Clowns. Let me ask you this. They fired their defensive coordinator. What's your expectation? First game, new coordinator.
Yeah, usually you get a little bit of a bump from that, Jimmy. But again, you have to have the Jimmys and the Joes out there and the X's and the O's match up the same way because they clearly don't have a very good secondary. But the one thing you might be able to say is if you see like a Mike Smith defense who got fired, you know really what they're going to provide. You know what they're going to do. Now you might be able to throw some wrinkles in there against a rookie quarterback that he hasn't seen on tape. So Tampa Bay might surprise him. But look, that's going to wear off quickly. You can be a magician with smoke and mirrors out there. If you don't have the defense that's going to be able to keep up, that's eventually going to get exposed. But I don't think it's a negative because, again, Jimmy, how could it be worse? You know what I mean? It can't be any worse, can it?
Actually, the more we broke that game down, it did pique my interest in the game quite a bit. I'm very interested to see if Browns and Mayfield can step up against this with two defenses that seem to have, the Browns defense is a sort of a Jekyll and Hyde defense. And I love Denzel Ward back there. I expect more from them. With such a young defense, I guess you never know what you're going to get. But this is a game with a ton of volatility, and that total is appetizing. It looks like I'm going to make a little note there for the over. Let's keep rolling along. We got a lot of games to break down. Lions at Dolphins. Let's not spend too much time on this game just because only Pinnacle's offering the game right now at -4. No totals available. Lions are coming off a bye. I expect Patricia's game plan to be on point. I've been liking his. How could you not like it more and more as the season has progressed after that terrible start? The Lions were dealing with injuries week 5 against the Packers, especially Ansa, TJ Lang, Michael Roberts, Eli Harold, Tavon Wilson. We're going to see how many of them come back. Osweiler was a beast last week. We'll see if he's playing. Frank Gore turned back the clock and ran for 101 yards. Kenyon Drake, 57 yards. Albert Wilson was the guy. Very shocking. 6 passes, 155 yards. They seem to be handling the Sitton and Kilgore injuries on the front line. Defensively, Cam Wake and Bobby McCain both will be out with knee injuries. Lions at Dolphins. Do you have just a quick insight on where you're probably leaning, depending on the quarterback?
What line were they opening up there? Like, what line did they actually show at this point?
They're showing -4 for the Dolphins.
I mean, if it's -4 and it opens up like that, I'm going to jump on Detroit immediately in that situation. And what's up with the Dolphins scheduling where they're just catching everybody off bye weeks? A little bit unfair right there for them. But look, you have to love the fact, if you're going to take the Detroit Lions, that the Miami Dolphins won last week. And let's not get into this too much deeper than we have to, Jimmy. Look, Brock Osweiler played really well last week. So the odds on him playing really well this week again, probably not that high. That's a pinnacle career moment for Brock Osweiler 1 week ago. I think he's going to come back down to earth. I think Detroit's in a very good spot. If you see, heading into the bye week, playing good football, beating Green Bay with the close game with the Dallas Cowboys, this team's good. If you're going to give me 3 or 4 points with the Detroit Lions right now, I'm going to take that right off the bat. And look, it just gets down to this. I don't think Tannehill's going to play. And if Tannehill does play and he has a sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder, that's a downgrade. And I think if Brock Osweiler plays, he's going to go Brock Osweiler on us sooner than later. I like Detroit here.
I agree, and so does the chat. But let's keep rolling along. A lot of games to get through. Panthers at Eagles. Opened up Eagles -4.5, now -4. His total opened up 45, now 45.5. Panthers are coming off the 23-17 loss to the Redskins. The Skins were able to shut down McCaffrey, at least running-wise. He rushed 8 times for 20 yards, still caught 7 passes for 46 yards. Denoris Searcy may be done for the year after his second concussion. Eagles coming off that Thursday night beatdown of the New York Giants. I enjoyed it very much. Wentz went 26 for 36 for 278 yards, 3 TDs. Smallwood and Clement combined for 94 yards on 29 carries. Aguilar caught 3 passes for 91 yards. Jeffrey 8 for 74 yards. Sort of felt like old times. Peterson will have extra days to prepare. Jason Peters tore his biceps, but is expected to return this season. I just absolutely love hearing your Eagles breakdown. Eagles -4 across, almost completely across the board right now. What are you thinking here for your hometown team?
Yeah, even climbing up to 4.5. I said it 2 weeks ago. I loved this spot without even knowing who was going to win the next couple weeks. I thought the Eagles would be in a great spot at home. As long as they're hovering around that 500 level, at least they should be able to handle. You get the extra days to prepare, the extra days to get healthy. Jason Peters, who did tear his bicep, looks like he's going to give it a go in this football game. Maybe you get Darren Sproles back this week. You know, you lost J.J., but you needed that mojo win, Jimmy. You got it Thursday night. Everything came together. Played good defense, played good offense, righted the ship, and now you get to sit back and wait. And Carolina had to go on the road and forget what that final score said, where Carolina, was one pass in the end of the game, maybe from beating the Washington Redskins outright. For 3.5 quarters, the Redskins were by far the better football team in that game, and a banged-up Redskin team with a running back leading the way with a separated shoulder, and your most reliable guy, Chris Thompson, not even playing in that environment. So if you get Darren Sproles back here, that's going to be a little bit more of an additive. I just think 4.5. I was hoping the line would even be a little bit shorter than that, but I know 3.5 showed up right away. They were snapped up immediately. I think the Eagles can win this game by 7 points. I think they line up really well with the Carolina Panthers, and they just seem to have their number lately with beating them, just for the simple fact there's extra time to prepare, righting the ship, back-to-back road games for Carolina, who I'm not a huge believer in. I like Carolina at home much more than I do on the road. I think the Eagles get the job done and win this game by a touchdown here.
A lot of people liking the Eagles in our chat. Tomer says, I like Philadelphia. Carolina's offensive line is garbage. Eagles' defensive line should be strong. Eagles' speed at linebacker matches up well with dual threat quarterbacks. Everybody liking the Eagles, the Eagles, the Eagles. And then Rashawn Brown comes in. Panthers outright win. Heard it here first. And then Robert Weimer saying, like the over. The Panthers seem to get easy points in games. What do you think about that total now at 45.5?
Yeah, I would like it better if the Eagles were more explosive, Jimmy, to be honest with you. I mean, I like the fact that Alshon Jeffrey's back looking like he's going to be a playmaker. But on both sides of the football, I don't know if we're going to be going deep and beating teams deep. I like Funchess in the red zone, a big, tall wide receiver coming into his own in the NFL. McCaffrey on the outsides. But you just don't have that offense yet where, you miss the Mike Wallace or the Torrey Smith being on the Eagles, where you have that element of a play-action pass where Carson Wentz can unleash something deep, 50 to 60 yards down the field. I think this game is going to be more of a slugfest type game. Do I think the Eagles can win and win by a touchdown? Yes. But the over-under has me a little bit perplexed here because I think there could be a lot more of a defensive effort. 2 mobile quarterbacks out there that might be able to run for some first downs and keep the chains moving. I don't have a great feel for the over-under here, Jimmy. How about you?
I am concerned about totals with the Eagles, especially after that beatdown against the Giants. So I don't have an angle on it yet. How do you feel, or how could you compare? Because we have this gift that both of these teams just faced the New York Giants. How do you compare the two teams and how they handle the Giants? And when we look at them, should that make us jump all over the Eagles, or is that simplifying things too much?
No, simplifying it too much there. That's where you would get in trouble. You say, well, this X team beat this team by this amount, and they beat this team by this amount, and they struggle with them at home, and they beat them easy on the road. Styles make fights in those certain instances. I take that right out of the equation. I just think the way both of these teams line up, I would actually be shocked if the Eagles lost outright. Now, look, hey, it's the NFL. Teams can beat teams. This game might be 23-20, and Carolina gets the cover. But I think the Eagles are going to win this football game, and I think that 3.5, 4 points, whatever it is, I think they're more likely to get the cover than not in that end. I would be shocked if Carolina came in and beat the Eagles straight up in this game, Jimmy.
Great breakdown. Love hearing it. Move on to the Bills at Colts. Market is all over the place on this game, and understandably so. You can get the Colts from anywhere between -6.5 and -9. The total opened at 42.5, now 43.5. The Bills looked good until Josh Allen left with an elbow injury. He will not be available this week. Nathan Peterman might need more than Jesus to help him step up his game. Bills defense continues to impress. Secondary held Watson to just 15 for 25, 177 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. I am so impressed with the way this Bills defense has come together after Vontae left them. Colts offense continues to get the job done without T.Y. Hilton. Colts coming off a 42-34 loss at the Jets. Ebron is a beast. Luck went 23 for 43 for 301 yards, 4 TDs, but still 3 interceptions. He can't seem to stop that from happening. They rushed for 127 yards, but the Colts defense is getting killed. Darnold threw for 280 yards, completed 24 for 30 passes on them. They desperately need Clayton Geathers and Danico Autry back. I guess we need to sort of wait, or are you going to wait to see where the line settles? Are you going to jump on something early? Bills at Colts. Colts pretty big favorites here against Peterman and the Bills. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
I'm not going to lie. I'm really, really liking the Buffalo Bills in this situation because most people are going to look at this game and say, well, the Buffalo Bills, not very good on offense. Oh, my God, lost Josh Allen. Did you see how Nathan Peterman was? If we can avoid both of those guys, Josh Allen and Nathan Peterman, and maybe go with, the third string quarterback, which I believe is Derek Anderson, if he can come in and just be competent, who's to say, Jimmy, that's not actually an upgrade of what they've already have at quarterback at this point to run an effective offense? And who are the Indianapolis Colts to lay 7.5 or 8 points versus anybody at this time, both home or away? If you see the MO of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott has that team playing and playing hard. They're a little bit talent deficient on offense, but there's no slouch on that defense right now, turning players over, heating up the pocket, winning on the road, or playing competent football games on the road. Let's not forget they beat Minnesota. Then they go down to play Houston, who's fighting for its life, and that game was tied up. And if Nathan Peterman never comes in the game, the Buffalo Bills might win that game outright. If you can just get veteran, competent play from the Buffalo Bills, taking 7.5 is a no-brainer to me with the Buffalo Bills.
I like that breakdown. Peterman looked so good in the exhibition season. He looked so good.
Something about when the lights aren't on, Jimmy, right? We're really good behind the scenes, off camera, but when we get on camera, we struggle a little bit.
We panic and sweat. Yeah, I get it. I really find that a very interesting breakdown, Donnie. Very exciting. And probably surprised some guys in our chat, but a lot of them are starting to agree. Mitchell Chagas says Bills will fight first half, but second half, Indy at home will pour it on. Indy needs this win.
Yeah, maybe.
I take them all day. Jim Bean hammering Buffalo. Love them this week. Greg Sherman, Bills D is legit, will terrorize Andy. Eddie Sanchez, Bills in the points. Very, very exciting stuff. But Dizzy Rothstein, Bills on back-to-back road games. Does that come into your breakdown at all, that they're on back-to-back road games?
It would, because we're not, but in this situation, Jimmy, let's just say it ends up at 8 or whatever it would be. Like, if you're getting more than a touchdown, it sort of changes my MO, because you don't have to actually win the football game. You just have to be in it in the fourth quarter. And what have I gotten out of the Indianapolis Colts right now that says, you know what? Their defense is just going to shut it down. Their offense is going to be a smooth running machine. They haven't looked all that good. Now, they are coming home as opposed to being on the road for 2 straight weeks. Andrew Luck is a quarterback upgrade over anything the Buffalo Bills have, but sometimes it comes down to value. Just like we talked about the Miami Dolphins game, Jimmy, the line moved 4 points going from Tannehill to Osweiler, which isn't that big of a move, and they were at home. And now you're going to say, all right, I'm going to get a veteran who probably already knows the offense, who can keep everything calm and just doesn't make that big mistake like Peterman did last week. They should be in this football game.
I agree. Exciting breakdown. Let's keep rolling. Vikings at Jets. Open Vikings -3. Now they're still 3s, but some 3.5s have come up on the board. Total open at 47, mostly 47s, couple 47.5s there. Vikings did not make it look easy in beating the Cardinals 27-17. Latavius Murray, 24 rushes for 155 yards. Dalvin Cook still dealing with a hamstring injury. Thielen continued his great play. 11 catches for 123 yards. They were missing left tackle Riley Reif. On defense and free safety, Andrew Sendejo is out with a hamstring injury. They're still struggling getting enough pressure without Everson Griffin, who doesn't look like he'll be coming back anytime soon. Jets offense looked great in their 42-34 win over the Colts. Darnold, as we already broke down his numbers. Terrell Pryor made an appearance. Very rare to make a Pryor appearance. Nice game after being invisible for 3 weeks. Jermaine Kearse needs the help, so it's nice to see Pryor rolling again. Marcus May broke his thumb against the Colts. Losing him will be devastating with all the injuries to their secondary. They're hoping to get Trumaine Johnson back this week, but his status is unclear. Last week, it was Morris Claiborne and a bunch of backups. Very, very difficult to defend the pass, and we know the Vikings love to pass. Vikings at Jets. Jets plus 3.5. Jets again, home dog. We see this year in and year out. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting right now because I'm a real buyer on the Jets, and I'm mad at myself that I didn't pull the trigger last week versus Indianapolis. I said all week long, as long as T.Y. Hilton doesn't play, I really like the Jets, and for some reason, we overthink situations in there, and I let that one slip through my hands. third straight home game for the Jets. That should be a nice boom. But, I know Minnesota hasn't put all their cards. They didn't look fantastic playing the Eagles. They didn't look great playing the Rams. They didn't even look great this past weekend playing an inferior opponent. But, when you go out of what the Vikings actually can do at wide receiver and quarterback in this game, and now you're adding some additional injuries. We'll see if Jermaine Johnson comes back to the New York Jets this week. But you said Marcus May banged up. Looks like he's going to miss this one. So that young, fast, hard-hitting secondary taking a few shots. If we take a look at the last couple weeks here, Jimmy, on defense, if we're lining up and looking at the Jets, 377 in the air they gave up versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, 344 versus the Denver Broncos, and 301 versus the Indianapolis Colts. Two wide receivers are coming to town right now that are on an elite level and getting a quarterback that can sling it downfield. I think that's going to come into it. I think the Vikings can bow up and play pretty good defense. And from what you're seeing out of the Jets, how good they looked at home, now all of a sudden the odds makers are going to come in and say, wait a second, we're going to hang a 3 on the board, and now it gets bet to a 3.5. I think Minnesota's in a pretty good spot because what they want to do on offense right now, not pound the rock up the middle, but throw it deep and get after it. The Jets can be susceptible. And again, you're still dealing with a rookie quarterback. Mike Zimmer, one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL. He'll have something cooking for that Jets offense where you're not going to just be able to run it behind two guys for, 180 or 190 yards total. They're going to make them work for all their yardage. I think Minnesota's in a pretty good spot here, Jimmy.
I do too, but I always fear the Jets as home dogs. Dom Ricci.
I like the Jets. Yep, I do.
They've just given us so much value over the last few seasons as home dogs. Dom Ricci, big Jets backer. He's had them the last 2 weeks and looked good doing it. Says Vikes 3 road games in 4. Vikes have Saints the following week. Jets have a shot, in my opinion. Not strong on them like last 2 weeks, but they can take this. Says this is a different Jets team than 3 weeks ago. But other than that, everybody liking the Vikings here. Let's keep rolling along. We have a bunch of games to get through before the hour is up. Texans at Jaguars. Open Jags -4. Now some 4.5s. Mostly 5s. Total opened at 43. Pinnacle still holding a 43, but the market's mostly 41.5s. Couple 42.5s. The Texans were lucky, as we talked about earlier, to scrape by the Bills. They probably would not have done it if Josh Allen hadn't got hurt. Watson did not look good. 15 for 25, 177 yards, 1 TD, 2 picks. They ran for just 74 yards, but the Jags, God, they embarrassed me. Looked god-awful against the Cowboys in their 47 loss. Bortles just 15 for 26, 149 yards. They rushed for just 65 yards. But what is much more concerning is they couldn't get any stops. Cowboys rushed for 206 yards on them. Jets declared Fournette, Anku, Flowers, Hayden, Herndon, Reed, Smoot inactive. But really on defense, it's just Hayden that plays. Those other guys don't play. Excuse me. I'm very confused at what the hell happened in that game. And hopefully you can shade some light on that game. Jags -5 after that debacle. Do we expect a bounce back game here?
I think you're going to get one. I was on the Dallas Cowboys last week because it's always one of my favorite situations for road Bortles to pop up against a pretty good defense, which he did, looks like 2 straight weeks. I know he threw for a lot of yards in Kansas City, but made some dumb plays. He looked horrific. The Jags looked complete, which was really odd. In a 4 o'clock start, a game that you should win or you should come out and play well in that environment, they didn't even throw their helmets out there. It looked like they got to Dallas, partied, and just said, you know what, we'll take the loss and go home. We don't even want to try. From the minute that game was kicked off, Dallas was the better football team, which is always the spots that you like to take a look at, Jim, in the NFL and try to go the other direction because your initial thoughts would be, all right, line opens up at 3.5 at Chris. Now all of a sudden sitting at 5 as a favorite for Jacksonville and say, who in their right mind would take Jacksonville? They got banged up last week. They looked horrific. Now you're going to come home and play a pretty good defensive team and say you're going to lay 5 points. I don't even know if they can win the football game, but you're looking at one of those games with Houston. Houston is in a bad way. I know their quarterback's banged up, running back hamstring injuries, and both wideouts seem to be playing with hamstring injuries weekly. But something is wrong with the Houston offense right here. And if you're going to come in and maybe still feeling a little bit of effects as a quarterback versus an angry Jacksonville defense, they are going to get after Deshaun Watson. The one thing I like about if you're Houston, though, and you saw a little bit of the game plan last week, Jimmy, with the Dallas Cowboys, a mobile quarterback can give the Jacksonville pass rush a little bit of fits there because he can get out of the way, whereas the statue back there is not going to be able to get out of a collapsed pocket of 4 guys. But something is wrong with Houston. In this game, I'm going to try to find a way to back the Jacksonville Jaguars as the week goes on. We'll see some injury information come out, how bad Jalen Ramsey's knee is at this point. It's a division game. It should be close, but I'm under no circumstances looking to bet the Houston Texans at this point all season so far.
This total has gone down from the opener. 3 great cappers back to back to back, like in the under, and Rain Man, Robert Weimer, and Quinn Rivera. What do you think of this total? What are your expectations?
I mean, it screams under, doesn't it? I mean, two teams. I mean, one team has a lot of weapons theoretically, but you're going to go against a good team on defense, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Take out what you saw last week and maybe the week before. You had 2 bad road starts. They should be able to get back into form at home. But yeah, I don't want any part of taking an over as some sort of shootout situation when you have 2 elite pass rushing teams against 2 questionable quarterbacks at this point. That doesn't scream over for me in that instance. So I would lean towards the under as well.
I hear that, but Bill Butlicker on the other side saying over, over, over. Both these teams' secondaries are struggling.
Turnovers, I guess, yeah.
And have been shredded lately. Thinks this will be a shootout. Very interesting to hear those extremes. Very interesting to see Bill going against the market. Exciting game that we'll be breaking down again on Friday and breaking down all week on our respective shows. So let's keep rolling right along. Saints at Ravens. Open Ravens -2.5. This is another very exciting tilt, even though the Ravens have not been playing exciting football. But if you're a football fan, you have to get excited by their defense. Total opened at 50.5, now mostly 49.5. Saints coming off a bye. 2 weeks to prepare for a Ravens offense that has been struggling. Now, we do need, or if you're going to back the Saints, you will want to know what's going on with Marshawn Lattimore. Suffered a concussion, second concussion of his career. They have a huge investment in this guy. He's good. Hopefully, he'll be there for a long, long time. His status is unclear. I don't expect him to get rushed back, and I don't see why they would rush him back really in this instance when you're dealing with the Ravens team that has struggled offensively. Coming off a 21-0 win at Tennessee, this defense looks incredible. Allowed just 12 points and no TDs in their last 2 games. But Flacco, 25 for 37, 238 yards, is one of the reasons why their offense isn't rolling, because Alex Collins continues to struggle. 54 yards on 19 carries. That's just 2.8 per game. Ravens, 2.5-point favorites. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
Yeah, look, I'm surprised New Orleans getting a lot of support right off the bat. 67% of the early tickets coming in on the New Orleans Saints. The line opens up at 2.5, stays at 2.5. There's a little bit more juice towards the Ravens side. I'm actually surprised to me that it opened up below 2.5. Not saying, New Orleans should be the favorite. I like the Ravens in the spot. I always like the Ravens at home. They're on grass. Dome team going outdoors. I know they're coming off the bye. They're going to be ready. But you just think that Ravens defense, how do you get around and push around the New Orleans Saints or any elite pass team, elite offense, I should say, that's a little bit softer there? I know New Orleans has a good offensive front, but that Ravens defense should be able to put pressure on Drew Brees. There's going to be 15-mile-an-hour winds this week, which isn't a hailstorm of winds, but it's not 4 or 5 degrees where it's not going to be minimal. You have a dynamic field goal kicker who knows how to kick outdoors. Now you're going to flip the script. I'm not going to lie, Jimmy. Early in the week, I really like the Ravens in this spot here. I know how well New Orleans played coming into the bye, now coming out, but you just give me Drew Brees outdoor in the Northeast against a dominant defense, and I think what the Ravens can do on offense can exploit what New Orleans can't do on defense. Trying to find a way early in the week, but this game is going to be New Orleans, Ravens for nobody later here. So I like this game a lot the way it sets up early.
I agree, but danger. The Saints, you're right, they're so different on a grass field outdoors in the Northeast. It's such a good point. Jim Bean says Ravens are the play. Eddie Euler, Ravens by a field goal, but Matthew Tour says Saints plus 2.5, hands down. Robert Weimer, New Orleans is just like me, a little sluggish when on grass, like Baltimore with the defense. Tomer said, I think this is a good spot to back the Ravens. Smith and Mosley are back. Ravens' run defense is elite. Saints' road success has been strong with the running game. And Ravens are nothing. Anil Frank, Ravens are one of my favorite plays of the week. Tomer saying Ravens look like a sleeper team in the AFC. A lot of people backing the Ravens. Let's keep rolling right along as we don't have a ton of time here. And I'm very interested at that breakdown. I really like it. Greg Sherman saying Ravens are a nice AFC future prop. Ziggy Ball's leaning Ravens. And we'll keep rolling along here. Cowboys at Redskins. Open Redskins -1. Now -1.5, some -2s. Total open at 42, now mostly 41s. Cowboys coming off that demolishing of what was thought as a great defense in Jacksonville. But remember, the Cowboys have yet to win on the road and look like a different team when they are on the road. But they continue to rack up very impressive yardage numbers on the ground. Sean Lee remains week to week with a hamstring injury. Martinelli, God, I just think he's absolutely phenomenal. He gets so much out of his defenses. Van Esch is a beast. When Sean Lee comes back, this will be a very dangerous Cowboys defense. I'm close to... I'm not going to fade the Cowboys at home anymore, and I'm not sure what I should do with them on the road. Red Sox got a big win over the Panthers, a nice bounce back after that terrible showing in New Orleans. Chris Thompson, dealing with a bunch of injuries, was not on the field, but this defense is as healthy as they've been in forever, and they're healthy right now. A lot of people liking the Redskins here. What are you thinking, Donnie? Cowboys at Redskins.
Yeah, I like the way they looked last week, and the Redskins should be able to stop the run. Say what you want against the pass. People are going to struggle when you go down to New Orleans. That was going to be a tough one. But last week, I thought they bounced back really well and played an effective game, both sides of the ball, offense and defense, versus the Carolina Panthers. Have a lot of similarities there, Jimmy, to what the Dallas Cowboys want to do, comparing them to the Carolina Panthers. Pretty similar there. You have the athletic mobile quarterback. You don't have the real up-tempo type team. They want to get a little physical out there. I think this plays right into the Redskins' hands, which I thought the Redskins were at a huge deficiency going down in the Dome playing the New Orleans Saints. I like the way they played last week. They're going to be at home again in this environment. You only ask him to win by, 3 points to a field goal. Love the fact, Jimmy, that the Dallas Cowboys on national TV absolutely pummeled Jacksonville and embarrassed them. So they're feeling all high and mighty now going on the road. I think Washington Redskins can get them here early in the week. I'm leaning Redskins here, Jimmy.
I like hearing that. Jahanzib Khan saying under. Dallas can't stop the run. Washington can stop the run. Going to be in the low to mid 30s. What are you thinking on the total here?
Yeah, no, it's a division rivalry, so we always lean lower. And both these teams, look, when you have both of these guys, dink and dunk offenses is exactly what comes into your mind when you think the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins. Not big explosive plays, powerful running backs on both sides, moving the chains, athletic quarterbacks that would rather run for 8 or 9 yards than actually try to throw it downfield 20 yards. I like where they're going with that. It'll be under or nothing for me in this division rivalry game.
I think that's a great call. I may jump all over that. Let's keep rolling. A couple games left and not a lot of time. Rams at 49ers. Open at Rams minus 10.5. Now you can get anywhere from minus 9.5 to minus 11. Total opened up at 53. Again, 53s, 52.5s, 52s, but moving down. Rams looked human in their 23-20 win at Denver in cold temperatures. Cooper Kupp expected to be out of action against the Niners here. Marcus Peters was active against the Broncos, but this secondary has not looked very good this year without Aqib Talib. The Niners impressed us all last night. It was a joy. Even though we lost, it was nice to see some fight in the boys, losing 33-30 at Lambeau. Beathard looked great. I guess that Shanahan would have shown them tape of how he was panicking with the ball, and he stopped doing that. 16 for 23, 245 yards. Goodwin looked like the star receiver that we hoped we were getting, caught for 126 yards. Mostert is a beast, 167 yards between him and Breda. But, and there's always a but with these 49ers, team has no pass rush. Questionable secondary. Warner and Foster are playing great, but they're the only ones playing great. Rams at 49ers. Rams, big favorites on the road. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
Amazing, man. I mean, look at all the respect that the Los Angeles Rams get, Jimmy. Third straight road game favored by a touchdown or more. It's just amazing in today's NFL that can absolutely happen, especially when you're looking at environments playing at Seattle and at Denver, who theoretically have great home field advantages. Now the San Francisco 49ers, not much of a home field advantage, and we're looking at temperatures, Jimmy, much different than the last 2 weeks. Misty and rainy in Seattle, freezing cold temperatures here the past week in Denver. Now you get to go home in the advanced forecast, 82, 83 degrees. That plays right in the hands of the Los Angeles Rams. But the one thing you have to like here, more than a side, if we're looking at 9.5, probably again the total you might want to get interested in. 52.5, really nice weather. Shanahan's going to scheme up some things. Beathard's going to throw it all over the yard. And the one thing about the Los Angeles Rams, they're going to be at least in the mid to high 20s, maybe low 30s. If you see anything out of the San Francisco defense that you like, other than they have some talent at linebacker and can rush the passer a little bit, that doesn't seem to waver much with the Los Angeles Rams. Their defense has some chinks in the armor. I like the total a little bit more than the side here, Jimmy.
A lot of guys backing your breakdown as well, liking the over. Jahanzib Khan liking the over. Ziggy Balls, I really like the 49ers. Too many points. They always play the Rams tough. Jim Bean says upset 49ers win outright.
Uh-oh.
That's exciting stuff. Tomor saying Rams look vulnerable, but no one else in the NFC is stepping up. Will the Vikings step up? Will the Eagles step up? We shall see. Let's keep rolling. 2 games left and not a lot of time. Bengals at Chiefs. Open at Chiefs -6. Total open at 58.5. Another enormously high total with these Kansas City Chiefs. There's even 59s on the board. The Bengals lost again to the Steelers at home, 28-21. The Steelers just have the Bengals number. I know you believed in the Steelers. I don't know if you ended up betting it, but that was a great breakdown last week and kept me off of losing money. So I thank you for that. Mixon had a subpar game, 11 for 64 yards. I'm worrying about his knee. Is his knee still an issue? Dalton went 26 for 42, 229 yards, 2 TDs, 0 picks. He's not making mistakes this year, and that is going to help the Bengals a great deal. Nick Vigil went down against the Steelers. He's expected to be out for 2 weeks. And what can we say about the Chiefs? Their offense is absolutely incredible. If they just had a defense, they would be a juggernaut. Maybe they still are a juggernaut because their offense is absolutely incredible. What a machine. Mahomes can do whatever he wants. Tyreek Hill's just got wheels. This is a special Chiefs team. Will Andy Reid be able to figure out how to get some stops for this club? I mean, that Patriots team didn't punt once all last week. Chiefs -6 here at home against the Bengals. What are you thinking here, Donnie?
Yeah, I guess the Cincinnati's only way to win. Look, it hurts. You lost to the Steelers in ridiculous fashion. Now you're going on the road. That was a swing game we might have been able to take care of and control the division. Now it's going to be back up on the lamb. You like the way Kansas City played, even though they lost that football game. I don't really know if it was devastating going into Foxborough undefeated and coming out with a loss by 3 points. You know, it is a little bit shorter of a week technically because it was a Sunday night game, but now you're going home to Arrowhead, and I think you can pencil in the Chiefs. You know, no matter what happens, they're going to be in the mid-30s. Can Andy Dalton and that offense return fire repeatedly in this one, especially after the way they lost last week? To me, when I break the game down, the Chiefs don't get very many stops, but they might get a little bit healthier this week. And I don't know if Cincinnati's going to be able to. Who slows down Kansas City as is, and they're going to be at home? We saw them torch a Patriots team that had extra time to prepare for them. We saw them torch in the rain the Jacksonville Jaguars. So what's going to stop this week? Kansas City is going to be in the mid-30s. I'm not sure Cincinnati can actually shoot it out with them. I look for maybe a touchdown victory at home by Kansas City. Would I be surprised if Cincinnati comes in the back door, they're down 13 late and they score? They have the ability to do that with A.J. Green. They can throw the football, and there's not that much resistance from Kansas City, but not stepping in front of Kansas City under a touchdown at home at this point. I think they turn up the gas again and really make a run roughshod in this game. I think they can win this game by 7 to 10 points.
A lot of guys agreeing with you here. Mitchell Shagga's terrible spot for Cincy, demoralizing loss, and they got banged up versus division rival Chiefs all day. Scotty Rock forever been cashing with these Chiefs week in and week out, backing them. Do you trust their defense more when they're at home because the crowd can get involved? Do you think they're capable at home to slow some teams down?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big deciding advantage. Why Seattle always has that advantage at home, because if you can't hear the snap count, you know, when the clock's going down 5, 4, 3, 2, you want to make an audible and nobody hears you, so you stick with the play that you know probably isn't going to work. It's a massive advantage, and Kansas City certainly has that. That's just another thing to try to help you out. But Andy Reid is just dialing up home run after home run after home run, and I don't want to get involved unless you're going to give me 8.5 points or whatever it is, so we can comfortably sneak through the back door. I don't want any part of just getting 5.5 at this point.
Yeah, let's let Triple Beams close this game out. He says, Chiefs in primetime at Arrowhead, 5-1. The city is energized. There's red everywhere. Arrowhead might be worth 4 here. Let's keep rolling. The final game, the Monday Nighter, Giants at Falcons. Open Falcons -4, now mostly -6s on the board. Total open at 54. It's creeped up to 54.5. Falcons injuries continue to mount, but they kept their season alive with a gritty effort and a game that I backed and you backed, and I got to make a little bit of cash off of it. I'm very thankful for that. It's been a very trying year and trying month. They'll be without Devontae Freeman and Matt Bryant now to add to the woes. But, God, are they facing a team that is a giant mess as well? How many more weeks are we going to see Eli Manning out there? A lot of question marks after that Philly beatdown. I know we're going to hammer this game really hard on our Friday show, but do you have any angles to lead us into our study this week? It's -6 for the Falcons.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? And I said, like, I like to get teams at their lowest point. I think the Giants are there. But look, Atlanta plays really well in the Dome. And the reason why we liked Atlanta last week, Jimmy, was the fact that they can do things to Tampa Bay that they can't stop. Now you want to switch it over and see what happens here. Let's just say you're down Ridley and Sanu in this football game. We already know Devonta Freeman, who missed last week, is going to miss this football game again. You're down weapons. They didn't look like that high-tech oiled machine in the second half against a lowly Tampa Bay defense last week. You had an extra couple days to prepare for the Giants. Maybe get Evan Ingram back, which will open up the middle, which will leave, your wide receivers, Shepard and Odell Beckham Jr., a little bit more room on the outside. Saquon Barkley. Always look in the direction of the team that's been kicked to the curb, and they're going to get 6 points in this one. But I preface that by saying, if Ridley and Sanu show up and play in this football game, I might not want anything to do with it. But if both of those two guys are down, you can roll your coverage to Julio Jones. And that's an awful, awful Atlanta defense that the Giants should be able to put up some points. Trying to find a way, Jimmy, early in the week to take that awful Giants team. We'll see how it plays out the rest of the week here.
I think that's a great call, though. If Ridley Sanu aren't there, back the dog and the points. I think that's a great call. If it's announced that Ridley and Sanu aren't there, what's going to happen to this line? I'm sure the Sixers won't be around. What do you think will happen to it?
Yeah, no, there probably won't be around because it looks like, line opened up in that, early direction, 4.5, went to 5.5 and 6s. You'd be hard-pressed, Jimmy, to find a 7 out here. You're probably more likely to get something closer to a 5 once game time comes around. But I know with that Atlanta offense, they are a well-oiled machine when everybody is healthy. But if you take a couple of those guys away, another week for Olivier Vernon to get acclimated back in that defense for a little bit of a pass rush. Sneaky Giants here.
I like it. I find that very exciting. We'll have a lot more time to hammer this Monday nighter down. I absolutely love this show and working with you, Donnie. It is an absolute treat for me to get to do this twice a week. Also, these cappers that we have in the chat, what a treat it is to run with them. So many great insights. A lot of people disagreeing on things, and that's what makes things so exciting. And it just is a real good vibe here. And I thank you guys so much for joining us. It is a treat to roll with you. We will be back here Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Donnie, will you put a bow on this show and say goodbye to our friends and fans?
Absolutely. We'll check out some practice reports as they roll in the chat box, as you said, Jimmy. That's the reason why we do these shows. It wouldn't be any fun if me and Jimmy were just in 2 boxes right here and nobody showed up the chat box, or at least just to troll us with 1 or 2 guys. So thanks for coming and giving great information that we can feed off of. The Audible, one of my favorite shows because I love the NFL, and I know Jimmy's very passionate and very versed on what he does as well. We'll be back on Friday for the Director's Cut edition. Hopefully give some plays out there they can win, but always fun, Jimmy, to do it with you. Sportsbookreview.com, folks. Your home for NFL action here on the Audible. We'll see you on Friday.